really the right way to do it, but. Yeah. Okay, so let's start a new Indian. I mean, not a new Indian. So we learned last week Shin Pei, Sif Aleph and Beis, and this is Sif Gimel and Dalet. So it's the Gishmak Indian. The Indian is basically what happens when, in today's Lashon, it would be what happens when if a person, let's give it an example. A person is, we can give two examples. Let's see if there's a difference between them. A person's on a Hatzalah call, and they're running to get to the door, and the door is locked, so they have to break down the door. They have to break down the door to go in and do the Hatzalah call. So they break down the door, they save the person, and the person's very appreciative. And then the person says, by the way, the bill for the door is $500. So, Adam Wad Lo'ilam, it's a whole time we're learning. You got to take responsibility for your actions. So you're chayiv to pay. That's case number one. Case number two is what happens if, while they're doing the, I guess it's basically a similar point, is that what happens if, let's say they're doing, this we're not going to get to probably this week, but if they're doing CPR or something and they break a rib or something like that, while they're doing it, there's also a difference in that. And what about, okay, so that's the common shaila that they get today. We don't have many roids in today's society. We do, but that's not the day-to-day shailas. But it comes from a very, very gishmak sugya in Baba Kama. And it's on page 2 in the pamphlet, which is Daf Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. We don't get to everything this week. We'll have to cover it in 2 weeks. But it's a Gemara. It's Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. The Amar Rabbah. So Rabbah says, now we all know there's halacha. If Reuven is running after Shimon to kill Shimon, then Reuven is considered a roidif. A roidif means someone who's trying to kill someone's life. So Reuven is a roidif trying to kill Shimon. And anybody, including Shimon, who sees that is permitted to kill Reuven. Because you're saving Shimon's life. So you're allowed to kill Reuven. Reuven is a roidif. Because Reuven is a roidif, he's considered that he's chayiv misa. So we have to keep that in mind. Since Reuven is chayiv misa, the halacha is that if you're chayiv misa, while you're chayiv misa, and if you become chayiv in mammon, you don't have to pay the mammon. You don't have to pay money in a scenario where you're chayiv misa. So therefore, ironically, if Reuven is running to kill Shimon, and Reuven breaks Caleb on his way, he breaks someone's stuff, he breaks through a door, Reuven is potter, that's for sure. Everyone agrees to that. Because Reuven is a roidif, and since Reuven is a roidif, you say, he doesn't have to pay. That's the first din of Rabbah. Dama Rabbah. Roidif shayar, Reuven is running after Shimon to kill him. Vishiberes Kalim, and Reuven breaks Kalim. Bein shel nirdaf, whether the Kalim he breaks are Shimon's. Bein shel kol adam, or whether they're Reuven's, potter. Sharei mischayiv benafshay, because he's chayiv misa. So that's what we said before. So Reuven is definitely potter. V'nirdaf sheshiberes Kalim shel roidif. If the nirdaf, which is Shimon, breaks Kalim of Reuven, potter. So let's say Reuven's running after Shimon to kill Shimon. Shimon turns around, and in order to save himself, he, I don't know, he throws something. He throws
the car.
What?
He's being chased by a guy driving a car, and he smashes the car.
Right, he smashes the guy's car, or he throws something at him, which breaks his, phone, and breaks his glasses, and breaks his. Obviously, if Shimon is allowed to kill Reuven, he's obviously allowed to break Reuven's stuff in order to protect his life. That would seem pretty obvious. So for the same heter he has to kill him is the same heter he has to break his stuff. Okay? So if Shimon breaks Reuven's stuff, he's potter. Okay? But what we still have to examine is, what if Shimon breaks someone else's stuff? Shimon's running, Reuven's chasing him. Shimon sees that there's like a nice expensive glass vase on the floor. He grabs the vase, he doesn't know who it belongs to Levi. He grabs the vase, throws it at Reuven. it smashes Ruvain, smashes the vase, but Lamaisa it distracts Ruvain. Ruvain gets and Shimon saves his life. Now Levi says, "Malach of Shimon, I'm very happy you saved. I'm very happy that you're alive, and that But Lamaisa, you used my vase to save your life. I mean, that was an expensive vase. So does Shimon have to pay for Levi's vase that he just used to throw at Reuben and save his life? What does Olam say?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
He has to pay. That's the halacha. The halacha is v'roidev shayroidev achar chaveroi. Aval shall kol adam chayev. And this is a klal in the Gemara. It sounds like a very interesting klal, but this is the klal. The osir lahatzil atzmoi b'momon chaveroi. You are not permitted to save your life with someone else's money. Now, like I just said, you're not allowed to take Levi's money, Levi's vase, and throw it at Reuven in order to save your life. Now, what do you mean you're not allowed to? I thought you're allowed to eat chazer to save your life. I thought you're allowed to do anything to save your life except for avodah zarah, gila, rayas, and shulchas damin. So gezeilah or hezek, we gave a shir. What's the isser of hezek? Is it geneva? Is it shmira? Is it haftalach kamoicha? But whatever it is, it's not one of the big three. So what do you mean osir lahastil atzmai b'momon chaveroi? So Tosfos says, and we'll get to the Gemara later, but Tosfos says, if you're gonna, I don't want to lose track, but if you just take a quick peek at the next page, there's a Tosfos on page 3 that I marked. Mahu lahatza atzmai b'momon chaveroi. Tosfos says, iboyle ichayiv l'shalim. Of course you're allowed to. If the shaila is, you have Levi's vase there, you should start clearing. Maybe I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to be mazik people's stuff. It's geneva. Of course you're allowed to do geneva to save your life, but you have to pay. So
Why does it say osir lahatzil atzmoi?
it shouldn't say because it should say asur lahatzil atzmoi with intention for it to be free. That's what it says. So you're not allowed to be matzal atzmoi with using his moment, meaning to say his moment is meshubit to me. I don't have to pay him back. No, you have to respect his money, and therefore you have to pay him back. But you're permitted to do it.
If he was there, wouldn't he have to use his cave to save him?
He has a chiyah. That's the chiddush. The chiddush is that even the
He's still there.
halachically he has to, because
He would have to save me no
what?
matter what. He'd have to save the narrative with his caleb.
You said there would be an isra l'sam al dam reach in that case.
Right.
So if I'm mechuyev l'sam al dam reach, why isn't my mom in meshubit to l'sam al dam reach?
He'd have to use his mammon if that's the only way.
That's a
to do it.
nice shiloh, maybe.
that's the chiddush. The chiddush is that that's only if he's here. You can't be you can't.
Right, but you can't.
Oh,
His
that
money's not
is your
meshubit to
last
you.
line.
L'may says his money's not meshubit to you. So since his money's not meshubit to you, so
So the suit you had before, you can't use somebody else's thing because you think you know that he would allow you to drink it. You can't go into somebody's
Right.
house and take.
You could if it's a mitzvah.
Not a
So,
not a,
the Gemara said. So this is the halacha. So Mamela,
Yichleil.
it comes out very interesting. Just let's keep it in perspective. Reuven, who's the roidif here, Reuven's trying to run after Shimon. If Reuven would run and trip and over Levi's vase and break it, Reuven would be potter. But Shimon, who's trying to save his life, grabs the vase and throws it at Reuven. He's chayiv. It comes out like an interesting scenario. Right? Reuven is potter, but Shimon is chayiv, even though Shimon's trying to save his life. But that's takanas chazal. Now comes another shaila.
You're right. So no.
The shaila is like this: what happens if Yehuda is there? Not Mamash Menashe's case, not Levi's there. Yehuda's there. So Reuben is running after Shimon to kill Shimon. Levi's vase is sitting there, and Yehuda wants to take it and throw it at Reuben to save Shimon's life. We have the cartoons here. This is getting exciting. We have the whole scenario played out. So, l'chayra, it should come out that Yehuda should have to pay. Because he was just mazik Levi stuff. But Chazal here made a takana. And what's a takana? It says, Aval shokodim, to also latzat mamachaveru. V'roidev shayaroidev acharoidev lahatzil. Roidev shayaroidev acharoidev. Our case, Yehuda. Yehuda's chasing after Reuven to get rid of him. lahatzel v'shiber kalim bein shel nirdav bein shel kol adam potter, he's potter. Yehuda, if he takes Levi's vase and throws it, is potter. He does not have to pay. Why? V'loy min hadin. This is not mikra hadin, but it's a takana. If no one would want to get involved, they're saving people's lives because it's too. I don't want to risk. I don't have insurance. I don't want to risk that people are going to start charging me money. So Yehuda's sitting there. He's watching Reuben about to kill Shimon, and he's like, "Hey, I could save it. I could save Shimon's life, but it's going to cost me. It's expensive. This vase is very expensive. I can't afford it. You know what? I'm just going to pretend I don't say anything." So we're afraid that if we don't have an exemption on Yehuda, right? That he doesn't have an exemption on Yehuda, we're afraid that Yehuda wouldn't bother saving the life. And Mamela Chazal put in an exemption that now Yehuda does not have to save. Yehuda does not have to pay Levi if you use Levi's kalim to save Shimon's life. Okay? So no, if someone else is there saving the life of a third party, he's exempt from everything. Otherwise, no one would save their life. Why don't you have this takana in the first case? Because no one's gonna hold back saving their own life because they're gonna be chayiv money. So Chazal didn't have to make that takana. Right? So in other words, if Shimon takes Levi's vase, there's no reason to exempt him from paying Levi because what are you gonna say? No. If he has to pay, he's not gonna do it. He's definitely going to save his own life, even if it's going to cost him money. So Chazal never made the takana on that. Okay? So,
why not make a takana to the Machayev Reuben?
Reuben's potter. Reuben's potter and altogether.
That was because of Kumnai.
Kimla Drabnik.
What else did he hide in?
He's Chayv Misa. Reuben is running to kill Shimon. So Reuben, we're allowed to kill Reuben. So that's called like a Chayv Misa. He's allowed to be killed. So if he's allowed to be killed, he's exempt from any other obligations that can be generated at that time. So therefore, he doesn't have to pay the money that could come at that time, since through his actions he's chayiv misa. Okay? Now, there's a now based on this is a very interesting Gemara, and you don't have it there. There's a Pnei Yeshua on the Gemara. The next page is page 3. Is the Vaita Gemara Baba Kama. It's the Gemara to the Baba Kama Daf Samach. And it's a whole story regarding David HaMelech. Basically, the Chazal took a simple parsha in small ways and put in a whole story there. The parsha says that David HaMelech was thirsty and he sent a couple of chevra to Beis Lechem to get water, and they went to the shire to find the water, and he came back and he was upset at them. That's not what's going on. Chazal say what it means is he was thirsty for the psak of the Sanhedrin, and he was in a very dangerous situation, and he wanted to have the psak of the Sanhedrin about what to do. So the Gemara says, you know what the scenario was? The scenario was that he was about to enter into a minefield, essentially. He was about to enter into a place where the Plishtim were hiding out. Where were they hiding? They were hiding amongst the stalks in a grain field that belonged to other Jews. So David HaMelech, what he wanted to do was, he wanted to burn down the grain field, and then either the Plishtim would die or they would run away, and then he could conquer that area. But he had to send a shaila to the Sanhedrin. Are you permitted to do that? Are you allowed to save your life? David HaMelech was in a precarious scenario. In order to save his life, he was going to burn down the field that belonged to someone else. And the shaila was, is he allowed to do that? Now, he was allowed, according to Tosfos, he's allowed to do it anyway. So the shaila was, does he have to pay? So just do it and figure out later. I mean, what's the, right? But that's what the Gemara says. If you look here, it says, "Vayis'av David vayomer mi ashkeni mayim mi bor beis lachem." Who's going to give me water? Asher b'shar. Vayiboku u'shloshas giborim b'machne plishtim vayishavu mayim. They went to the Sanhedrin. They got the psak mi bor beis lachem asher b'shar. May coming boile. So the Gemara says one pshat. Amar Rava, Amar Nachman, that he had a different child, a Toman Beish. But if you look at the end of that line, it says, Rav Huna Omar, Kedishim Disairim Di Yisrael Havu. The story was that there were grain piles of barley that belonged to a Jew. The Havu Matamri Plishtimbo, that the Plishtim were hiding there. The Kami Boile, and his Shaila was, Ma'u Lahatza Atzme B'mamon Chaveroi, Sholchu Le'osr Lahatza Atzme B'mamon Chaveroi, you're not allowed. Aval Ata Melech Ata, you're allowed to, and you won't have to pay, because you're a Melech parts Gendalas is living in money. Again, Tosis Trap makes it a little bit schwer because it means he was definitely allowed to. Okay? But
Why was he upset then?
What?
Why was he upset if he's Melech Party together? Saying that he was
why
upset.
didn't he take the psak? I'm not sure. But the Pnei Yeshua asks a very simple question. He says, why was the Shaila, if he's allowed to be Matzah Atzma B'mamon Chaver, L'chayra, the Plishtim were right for him because there was other people there also. There were other people there too. So, Fekta Pnei Yeshua, didn't we just learn the Gemara by Rava that you're allowed to, that you're takapotter if there's other people there? So, David HaMelech was saving other people's lives. And when you're saving other people's lives, so you're allowed to. And you don't have to pay. So I thought the simple answer, maybe that takana wasn't made yet.
Well, they were waiting.
It says Lemin Adin.
But it's
I mean,
also-
that's later. I don't know if it was made by David HaMelech.
Well,
The Gemara's Mashma, Shlomo HaMelech was the first one to make takanas.
Does the fact that he's saving his own life included in
What's
that?
it? So. Okay, but what's
They
the
were,
problem?
they were waiting in ambush. They weren't going to attack anybody. They were waiting in the field.
They're going to attack the whole Klal Yisrael, the
They're
whole
sitting right
army.
there. What do you mean?
It's not
They
just
were-
talking
they were-
I don't know
about
I don't know exactly the scenario, but it seems like they were that they were waiting in ambush exactly until the right time to attack. So he wanted to preempt it and burn it down. So Frek the Pnei Yeshua, hold on. If it's just to save himself, I understand the more, but there was other people there. And we already learned that there was a takana. But min a takana, you're allowed to. And he assumes that the takana was already in place at the time of David HaMelech. It's a very logical takana. So he answers exactly what Moshe is saying. Pnei Yeshua says, great answer. He says, why, when you're saving yourself, why do you have to pay for someone else's money? Because there's no tzad in the world that you're not going to do it because you're going to end up owing money because you want to save yourself. So what happens now if you're saving yourself and other people? What's the halacha? You're saving yourself plus others. What's the din? So he says, you see from the Gemara that the din is if you're saving yourself and other people,
it. Still to pay.
then you have to pay. If you're saving yourself plus others, you have to pay again. Because the point is, because at the end of the day, you're not going to just walk away. So that's Pnei Yeshua says, and it's also Pilpul Charifta, which is a Tosis Yom Tov, also says the same thing. It says, Elo d'shayni hamatzah la'acherim, avagav da'asmi, kumokum patim l'shalim. And then Pnei Yeshua. He says, El Hasam time of mine, Mishum din loy kein ein lecha adam shiatzas chaveroi. V'hacha, kivin shegam David atzmei haya b'sakanu le'shayach hay time. That's what Pnei Yeshua says. Okay. So,
Vice versa, we did the kana. David was telling the Shaila about the time to save himself. Vice versa, even clap at yourself, you get it to kana. That you shouldn't be naive.
right, and Taki Yorchai.
But you are fine.
Yeah, but David HaMelech was telling Shaila whether or not he should do it or not.
No, that's what, you have to say according to Tosis that he was calling a Shiloh only if he would be chayiv. Again, right, it's a little bit, he's a melech, right? He can afford to pay back a field of Sa'ir. It's like, what was the big Shiloh? Not sure exactly. Now, so, okay. So I'll go upon him. This is the takana of Chazal, and we paskin like this takana, and that's in Shulchan Aruch. We paskin this halacha, okay? That the person himself that's in danger, if he damages someone's stuff in the process of saving his life, he's chayiv. But someone else that saves is pater. So just reasonably, based on this Gemara, let's say based on our case. Hatzalah person coming in the ambulance, he's coming, he parks the car and he's to come in, and as he's walking in the house, there's this vase on the floor and he runs and he trips over it and it breaks. He's potter. Because if people are going to be chayiv,
I was going to join.
then no one's going to take part in Hatzalah. They need the, special insurance on that. So they're not going to want to do that. Okay? And that's how we paskin, and that's the halacha. If you look at the back page, so I have two tshuvas. The first tshuva is the tshuva of Shevet HaLevi, on page 7. So Shevet HaLevi says this is davar pasha.
That includes driving people?
What?
That includes driving people or action
L'chayra includes everything. But he says beferish. Shevet HaLevi. If you look in the Shevet HaLevi, page 7, Umash Shul be'inyan echad mechavri Hatzalah, shenosel letzorech Hatzalas nefashos. He's traveling. He's in the car. Ubederech nisiyosim, while he's driving the ambulance, paga, he got into an accident. Vehizik berechev acherim, oy beruchushim. He hit someone else or someone else's property. Im lo doinoi kirotz be'erev Shabbos upater. Is it like the case of he's running erev Shabbos? He's running for the purpose of a mitzvah. V'shuv dacha, and he says it's not necessarily good because that wouldn't be a proof because that case is specifically for Kavod Shabbos. But then he says in the second line, it's midinam bavor b'chosh mishrasim nishin pei, which is the Gemara Baba Kama Kufiyat Zayin. The roidev achar haroidev patum in Ezekin, okay hailishna nira, and that seems to be pasha. The Gemara you have taima the haimil. So what's the reason for that? Mishum shem ein ato emerkein. If you don't exempt people from that type of damage, ein l'cha adam shematzos chaverim in haroidev. No one would ever want to save other people. V'alkein patru oisa gamal nezek kelum shel kol adam. And therefore you're put on any damage you cause in the process of saving someone. Upashtut me'oid. It's very simple. Hatzalah members also have this exemption. Biridifasam umihirusam, because we want them to hurry and do it quickly. Chai adam tluyim bahem, and people's lives are at stake. They're not even chayim in Shabbos, so for sure they're not going to be, because we don't want them to declare to do this way, that way. Just do it, and therefore it's clear that they would be included in this takana that you're exempt from damages caused because you're trying to save someone's life.
Is this only if the call is a life-saving call? Like if they know the call is a stomach ache?
I don't know about that because l'chayr you never know, and also it's part of the big picture. If you don't answer that call, you're not going to answer this call.
So what I'm saying, can you break down the door if you know that it's not a life-threatening call?
Yeah, because
Save that person.
if you're not going to save this person, you're not going to save someone else's either. If you
They
have to
can't start
declare now
declaring.
every time, then you're going to end up declaring about this guy that's not in danger. So the takana is that you're in the process of saving. Now, there is an interesting shaila in the Paiskim. Is this only on something which is done as you're going? It's like accidental. Like this case of the Shevet HaLevi. He's driving the car. He hits something where he trips, whatever. What if it was done on purpose? Like breaking down the door. It wasn't accidental. So now it's a decision. It would be included in that also. It's hezek. But Ramosh has a fascinating tshuva. Ramosh has a fascinating tshuva over here. It's on page 8. The tshuva, if you look at it, it's written to Yedidia Nechbad Hagoyin Shlomo Halberstam, Hagayvid V'Admor Mibaba. It's written to the Baba Rebbe, Shlomo Halberstam. So the Baba Rebbe asked Shlomo Baba asked Moshe a shayla like this. He said that he was in Europe and he had to borrow money to save people's lives. And since he borrowed a lot of money, and he told all the people that he borrowed from that he's going to pay them back. And the kehila will pay him back. Unfortunately, basically, there was no kehila left to pay back. He's the only one left. And the entire debt to pay back the people would be mutal on him. So he said that, of course, I go to Fnei Mishra Sadin, and I'm going to pay back. But I want to pay back on my terms because I hold on potter. Why am I potter? Because I am included in the takana of Rabbah. Rabbah said a takana that when you are obligated, financial obligations that are created in the context of saving people's lives, you're exempt from paying. So really, I don't have to pay. I'm potter altogether. Now I'm potter altogether. Now they're obligating me to pay. Since I'm doing a chesed by paying, I don't think I have to pay. Well, I'll pay. But they want me to pay now, and I want to pay over X amount of time. So, in my who's right? Interesting shaila. You heard the shaila? So this is not a case where you were running and you broke down the door to save his life, or it's damages. It's a different type of scenario. You borrowed money to use the money to save someone's life. Here, Dr. Moshe, Hine in the second paragraph, b'mechilas k'foy terasai, apid din Torah chiyuv gomer, aim is the shak v'tarya. This is not gemilas chesed. You owe the money. You owe the money. You're not included in the takana of Rabbah in order to be exempt. Why? Ki bein lahatzalah atzmai, bein lahatzalah acherim. Whether you're saving yourself or others, b'momen acherim chayiv l'shalom. You're not allowed to use someone else's money to save other people's lives. The takana. That takana she'amar Rabbah is roy deflatzah sheshavar kelim she'im iyata emerkein in l'chadam shematzas chaverim yaroid v'rak li potter midin mazik. It's an exemption specifically to damages. V'rak, and also mehamoyin bedarkoi, damages which are in the way of helping the person get saved. But you can't say Hatzalah guy's in there. He's finished the CPR and on his way out, it's like, oh, I like your Leichter, and grabs it and goes out. Now I'm potter. I'm saving your life, right? You don't say that, right? Because it has nothing to do with saving it. So if someone would say, in this case, listen, I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna kill this guy unless you come up with $100,000 this instant. And the only way you can come up with that is you have to borrow the money or steal the money. So are you included in the takana? So that the Gemara said already by David HaMelech. The person himself would be, if you would take the money from someone else, would have to pay. That's clear. That's the Gemara. He would have to pay back. Well, let's say
But the person being saved,
the person being saved says, "I'll come up with $100,000 for you." Right? The guy comes up to him and says, give me the money, or I'm going to kill you." And he goes to his friend. He said, "Can I have the money? I have to save my life." He has to pay him back. But what about someone else? As we said, someone else, maybe this is the takana Rabbah, because we want people to help other people save their lives. So Dr. Moshe, no, this is a specific takana when it comes to hezek. It's not negaya to other things. So Mamela, the Baba Rebbe is chayv mikra din. Because you borrowed money to save people's lives, that money that you borrowed, you owe them. And it's not included in the takana of Rabbah to be exempt. So the takana of Rabbah is specific to damages because that's something that if we don't exempt you, no one would end up saving lives. Now, it's interesting because no one's going to want to borrow money to save people's lives either then.
no
Right?
one will want to lend it if they don't know if they're going to get paid back either. So they won't be able to.
Same
borrow.
thing, right. It's even worse, 'cause you're loyal, jealous with the people that want to save lives.
Yeah, but this is what he says. He says, "V'af b'mazik, you need a special takana. L'chein kol ha'shak eitzar rabbanim benin zeh shaykh rak b'sach ha'chiyuv," whatever. But he says you don't have to pay more. This is interesting. He says, but let's say the scenario was that someone sold something for you, or someone provided you a service, and it was very expensive. And let's say you got a guy that was willing, you found an officer or someone like that was willing to do the work for you, but they charged you 3 times the price of what it would cost. So the guy says, look, I'll go in there and I'll, drive a bus into the place and come out, but you gotta pay me, usually to do that route costs $100, I want $1,000. He says, then you're allowed to pay him $100 because someone's not allowed to take advantage of you if you're sending them to save lives.
Happens in Ukraine all the time.
What?
Happens in Ukraine all the time. We're charging certain amounts if you want to get out because you don't have civil pressures.
So there you're not mechuyev to pay more than the going rate. That's correct. So Al Kaponim, you see from Ramosha that he's limiting the takana. The takana it's a takana, but it's not a free pass through every single scenario. So if we're back to that Hatzalah, so it's pretty clear that the person is potter. But you have to keep in mind the Pnei Yeshua and the Pnei Yeshua case that's only if the person himself is not being saved also. So I don't know what the scenario would be, but you know, let's say there's a bunch of people in a room, and the only way to get out is you gotta knock the door down. So if you're in the room and it's saving your life too, then you gotta pay for the door. But if you're from the outside and you're okay, and you're just saving them, and you break down the door, then you're potter.
What about like a firefighter?
That's why he's potter.
What about on the way out?
Huh?
What about on the way out? How he's like saving himself too?
It's his job.
Yeah, his job doesn't exempt it.
No,
What?
I'm saying.
That's part of the
I think
Xera
everybody
probably.
agrees they can do
No one's
whatever
gonna
they
go
want.
to fighter or,
Yeah.
yeah.
No one will go in
But
if
don't
on
they
the way
have-
out.
But he's not taking your chandelier, he trips on the way out.
Do whatever they
Right.
need to
You
do.
won't come
What?
in if you
I was
spend
such on
$4 hours.
firefighters for heroes, like they have just to do whatever they need to do in the community.
Yeah. That could be like Melch per together. That could be like a different Agdara. But theoretically speaking, I'm just giving, you know,
You have that case very often now with kids getting locked in cars, or people locked in cars, and the car's a car with them. You come up with your tools and equipment, you try to bust it, whether you're successful or not, you damage your car. Who's
exactly,
responsible?
100%. You are? Or you're
I'm
not?
saying, who's responsible?
No. Bother you're potter. You're saving the guy's, you're saving the life. It's kosher.
If it's your own kid, that'd be another shayla.
Would the same be applied to a dog that's in a hot car in the summer? You break the window?
What?
Saving you.
How-
Can you save a dog in a car? It's very common when you see a dog in a hot car.
And you break the window?
So if you break the window, you have to pay back. It's not going to be much.
I can't imagine Rabbi made it.
I can't imagine, yes. Don't do me any favors.
I'm not sure.
Dina might pat you, but that.
What?
Dina Dina might pat you, but that's something else.
Right.
Right, the government's very
I
worried
mean,
about dogs.
maybe if you feel the right thing to do is to do it, but you would have to pay. I mean, remember, you have to pay. Just keep it in perspective. You have to pay if Chas v'Shalom, a person himself is stuck in someone else's car, and they break the car to get out, they have to pay. You yourself have to pay for the damage included in saving your own life. It's just to save someone else's life you're potter. But to save your own life, so I'm saying that scenario is not.
And the other
You
scenario.
need a special takana.
It's a
So
takana,
the takana, the Ramosha said the takana is not even if you borrowed money to save people out of the Holocaust. You know what I mean? It's a very specific takana.
So probably don't include dogs.
Yes. So you know you need to know what the scenario is now. Based on this Gemara, I don't want to start a whole new sugya right now, but I'm just going to give you the case for next week, just to whet your appetite. The Shmaka sugya is you're on a boat, and the boat is sinking. Now the boat is sinking, and you wanna, in order to save your life, you gotta throw stuff off the boat. So you grab the first suitcase you see, you throw it off the boat, and now you saved the whole boat. Do you have to pay for the suitcase?
You see, no, because.
Unbelievable
it's
case.
already sinking.
Okay, so there's two Gemaras. The Gemaras seem to conflict. There's two Rambams. The Rambams also seem to conflict. And then there's the Beis Yosef and Yosef, and there's a Mahalchan to Miyashiv, and based on that, it's going to come out the halacha, but we'll save that for next week. Okay? Yeah, that was good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I see your nice background. Much better.
According to Blejer, would you take, you would easily be,
This case is lost any.
it's not stealing it, or that's included in Mazda? You stole it, technically.
But the reason, he took it on not throws. He never took it on that's Kenyan.
Think, would you handle like rotation as like this?
It's one thing if you kick kicked it straight up. If you took it on that Ganela, which is a little bit of critic. He's coming out very strong in the boat. Done. Turn off.
We're on tonight?
Yeah.
Great.